Hello everyone, welcome to the Charged Shot Gamescast. Each and every week, we get together, discuss what we've been playing, what we've been doing with our lives, and a few topics here and there. Joining me today, we have Justin, the pun master.
Darn right.
We have Lo.
How's it going, everybody?
And we have Marky Mark.
It's just Mark, but that's okay.
But we want to be your funky bunch.
And we are the Funky Bunch.
Oh, man.
So what has everyone actually been up to? Like, do we have some cool stories going on?
What have I been up to? Not much, really. I do have this this event that my work is putting on in a couple of weeks. It's going to be in Houston, actually. So they're going to be flying me out to Houston. And they pretty much, we have a new marketing manager and stuff like that. So she's allowing me to buy a bunch of cool stuff. So I was putting together, just kind of like a reasonable wish list, I guess you can say, for, just some additional video equipment and stuff I can use to document this event, because they're actually finally starting to see the value of video and stuff and just how beneficial it is to your marketing and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty exciting. Also, I've flown enough times to still count on one hand, so I'm still a pretty nervous flyer, so that should be pretty interesting. Although the last time I flew it was from Vegas to Orlando, so that was literally like cross country. That was a little crazy for me.
I remember that. I remember you telling us about that before. I've only ever flown once, and that was to California for Comic-Con. That was insane. I went by myself, and it was an awesome experience. I've never experienced anything like that before, like reaching in the altitude and having your ears pop and stuff like that.
It's funny because, I play enough like video games and stuff and flight simulators. It's like you would think I would be a little more like lax about it, but like every time, like whenever I get on the plane, as soon as like we take off, I'm like, oh my goodness. But I think it's just one of those things where you just have to, like, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. So
Yeah, I don't think it's natural at all to feel like it's natural to be flying in a metal tube at 40,000 feet at a couple hundred miles an hour. It's not normal.
Right. I'm glad I'm not alone there.
Yeah. I think, Mark, you said you were going to travel somewhere soon.
Yeah, I'm actually prepping to go to PAX South. It is the 26th through the 29th, I believe. So that's going to be super fun. The annoying part about it is I have to go all the way up to Kansas City because I'm in Wichita. So I've got to go all the way up to Kansas City to meet the group I'm going with. And then we're driving all in one SUV, 12 hours straight through to San Antonio, Texas.
Oh my.
Fun clown car trip.
Wait, you said San Antonio, Texas. Are you going to the Royal Rumble?
No.
Because that's actually the same weekend.
It is. I've heard several people say that it's the same weekend, and it's going to be an interesting trip because I've actually only ever spent maybe a couple hours at most with any of the other four people that I'm going with. Two of which I've never even met before. I know them online, but I've never met them in person. So 12 hours, one car, lots of food stops because, unique food. And, did I mention we're leaving for San Antonio from Kansas City at approximately 1 to 2 in the morning so that we can get there by about noon? Yeah.
Driving at night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envy you anymore.
I'm not jealous at all.
Next week is going to be fun. Leave work at 5 p.m., actually 4 p.m., go directly to Kansas City, sleep for a couple hours, then get up and start a drive to San Antonio. But otherwise, an uneventful week and not much else planned.
Yeah, I've just spent my week just trying to set everything up. I haven't really done much except for work, setting everything up here, and playing a couple of video games, I guess. All right. Before we get into video games, though, I have to thank each and every one over on patreon.com/chargedshot. That is right. This podcast and everything related to this podcast is supported directly on Patreon. You can get the shows early. on Monday, and free shows go up on Friday. With your subscription on Patreon, you get amazing perks like early access to shows, videos, giveaways, and so much more. You have no money to spare? Then no problem. Just subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and give a 5-star rating. Share the podcast with a loved one. Share the love. What has everyone been playing today?
Pretty much exclusively Final Fantasy VI. I don't really have a lot of time to play anything, so pretty much all of my time has been going towards my Final Fantasy VI series, which I will not be self-promoting because that's shameless.
No, you can promote it. You're doing a story play. You've done a story play with Final Fantasy VIII over on your channel.
Yeah, Zero Score on YouTube if you wanna follow that. Finishing out Final Fantasy VIII, but all my work on that side is done. So I've started playing through Final Fantasy VI to get everything for that ready. Making sure the script is accurate and stuff as far as what I actually play rather than what's written down online. So I want to kind of get the entire game before I even announce the cast or anything for it. So yeah, it's been pretty much all my free time is school or Final Fantasy VI. It's about it. Which is a shame because I have so many games I want to play, but I am dedicated to my craft.
Final Fantasy VI is a pretty good one, though.
It's true. It is amazing. If you don't know Final Fantasy VI, either play it or wait a few months. And you can watch me not really play it, but, watch the cool parts of it, at least. With awesome voice acting and stuff.
It will be awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm just, I don't know, just in case anyone doesn't know, I'm actually auditioning for several parts. I'm actually going to re-audition for some parts because now I feel like they could have been done differently or better, more effectively, I guess. But yeah, just touching back on the subject of the story play, I just think I'm really excited for it, even regardless of what part I get cast as or if I get cast at all. I'm just really excited for it for the reason of it's a different way to experience this game, which otherwise doesn't really have that sort of kind of the voice acting and all that stuff. It was arguably one of the best Final Fantasy games of all time, but being able to experience that with the classic gameplay and the graphics and plus the voice acting, that I don't know, it kind of brings the game to life again, as opposed to just playing it again by myself and making up the voices as I go. It's kind of like, it's more, I just think it's really cool that somebody decided to make a production out of it. So I'm proud of you, Zero.
I personally just feel like it was ahead of its time. So I think, it was already a beautiful game, like one of the best, like 16-bit, sprite art games of this era. So if I can do one thing to kind of modernize it, it would be to add voice acting. So that's kind of the goal there. And cut out all the, long periods of nothing happening.
I'm also excited, but that's because I don't play Final Fantasy games. I've played like the first hour of Final Fantasy VII and not been able to beat it because I'm a pleb. But so literally your playthrough on your channel has been the only real exposure that I've had, because I don't have that many friends that sit down and play the game when I'm available to watch them or can be over to watch them. So it's kind of an interesting perspective because I know those games, they don't have the voice dialogue, the voice acting in them. So it's interesting to watch it from that perspective and see people that I actually know as well being part of this. And I'm attempting to try and do an audition for a part or two on there as well. I have no idea whether or not I'm going to be any good at it, but I'm going to try. But I'm looking forward to it because it's, like I said, I don't get the opportunity to play Final Fantasy games. I own several of them on Steam. I'm just so overwhelmed with too many games to play all at once. I don't have those as a priority to play at this point. They're there in my library. If I get to them, I get to them. Well, I've been playing a lot of Elite Dangerous lately, and playing Mass Effect, of course. I've been playing that over on my Twitch channel, because while I don't do hardly anything, if anything, on YouTube, I do stream over on Wraith81X on Twitch. But I've been playing Elite Dangerous, Mass Effect, and I also recently started playing Silence of the Sleep, which is a very interesting psychological horror thriller game. It's weird. So...
You had some really cool stuff going on with Elite Dangerous, though, because with the new edition of Aliens...
Yeah. I with the introduction of the Thargoids, I want to say at the beginning of January, Frontier Development released a patch for the game overnight, and they reintroduced the active race of Thargoids that have not been seen in the Elite universe for... over 300 years. I mean, the game itself originally came out in the 80s as just Elite, and there have been several iterations since then. The first couple iterations had Thargoids as, AIs that you could engage, but they ended up taking them out. And there's a ton of lore in regards to who the Thargoid are, where they went to, because they basically vanished at some point and they weren't included in any of the games past, I believe, the third one, which was in the 90s. And they've just been absent from the game until now. There was one or two spots that I'm aware of that you could go to a particular planet or moon and you would find a wrecked spacecraft, but there was nothing you could do there. There was no scanning or probing or any type of information gathering. It was just, look, it's a ship, but it doesn't look like anything that's in the game right now. And then they released this patch, and suddenly there were a couple more crash sites found with these very strange-looking artifacts. They're unidentified artifacts, and people started picking them up to find out, scan them, try and take them to a star base and sell them for profit or sell them for science. And at some point, someone, for the very first time ever in the history of Elite Dangerous, someone got interdicted or interdicted, however the word is said, from hyperspace or witch space, which has never been done before. And it turned out it was a living Thargoid spacecraft that pulled them from hyperspace. And I'm still waiting to have it happen for me, so I have to go off of what I've seen from videos, but it looks absolutely terrifying and amazing.
Yeah, I saw it. It looked crazy. It looked insane. Yeah. I'd never seen anything like that before.
And so I of course I've gone and I've gone to one of these crash sites, found the artifacts, and I'm being a complete badass. I'm taking the artifacts from the wreckage, taking them and laid it to the closest black market facility, and I'm selling them for $250,000 each one that I sell, and it's doing damage to the space station, and I'm well aware of it, and I don't care because I want money. I'm not.
Yeah, Elite Dangerous looks like one of those games that I love to watch. Like, it's not one of those games that I love to play, but watching you play it, it's insane, and I love every bit of it.
It's and you were there, I think, the very first time that I actually landed on the new crash site that had the artifacts, and I think everybody, but myself especially, was just like, as soon as all the weird sounds, because the conjecture is that there's still Thargoids in that craft, and that's why the artifacts are there. They're laying them as more or less traps. Or ways to get information about us, and we're taking them because we're humans and we're dumb. But the noises and everything are just, it's terrifying, exhilarating.
It reminds me of Alien or Predator, the way it makes that sound.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, the first time I tried to dock with, when you carry one of these, because it's an unknown artifact, it's immediately categorized as illicit cargo. So you can't dock in just any old spaceport, and if you do try to, you have to bypass security, and there's nothing quite like the rush of adrenaline you get piloting your ship at 350 meters per second through a mail slot, and then inevitably bouncing off the back wall of the space dock, just so that they can't see that you have illegal cargo that you want to sell.
while the cargo is damaging your ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eating away at all the parts.
So what have you been up to, Lo?
I've actually been playing a lot of, no surprise to anybody, I've been playing a lot of Paladins, actually, because they've announced a new champion, and I actually tried them out I just realized they have a public test server, so there's like, you get to test stuff out before they officially patch it into the official game. So public test servers are pretty rad. So I actually was trying it out this morning, and he's a pretty interesting looking character. He's got this big kind of like stone, like magic, like gauntlet type of thing, and like he either generates shields. He generates shields for himself, both himself and his team members. But he can also, if an enemy's like has a shield though, he can actually absorb their shield and apply it to his own. It's crazy. It's like, cause there hasn't been any other kind of champion that's been able to do this kind of stuff before. So that's pretty cool. I've been playing a lot of Paladins, testing that out. And when I'm not playing Paladins, I'm actually playing Hi-Rez's other game, Smite, because, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Smite, but it's like the third person MOBA type of game. And the reason I was never really into MOBAs before, like Dota 2 or League of Legends, there's a couple of other ones, but it was really just the perspective. Like, I always wanted to kind of like be down, like in there in the action and see like what's going on. And Smite, that's pretty much what it is. It's like a third person action MOBA type game. And yeah, it's pretty fun. I've just been kind of practicing against bots and stuff because I'm pretty terrible at MOBAs in general, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the graphics are pretty too. And both of these games I just mentioned are built on the Unreal Engine, and I have this like unnatural gravitation to the Unreal Engine for some reason. So there's also that.
The Unreal Engine's a fantastic engine, though, all things considered. So
yeah, that engine's pretty unreal.
Ah, boy.
Hey, I'm here.
Aha, I see what you did there.
Continue.
But yeah, other than that, actually one of my buddies talked me into trying World of Warcraft, like vanilla World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah, don't they have like vanilla servers or something up?
Yeah, they have legacy servers. It's Elysium, I think, is the one I'm on. And I got into it, I played a few hours of it, and I'm like, I need to stop this because it's too easy to like just play at that for hours and hours and hours, and
it's the most addicting game I've ever played and had to quit because it was addicting.
I could easily see why. I could see how it could just consume your life, but I have a job and a significant other and all that stuff, so that's not really an option.
Yeah, I'll play the crap out of some Final Fantasy, but the one thing I'm glad about is I never got into World of Warcraft. Like I don't think I could have handled it.
I tried to play World of Warcraft a few times, actually. I tried Mists of Pandaria and the other one, Cataclysm. But every time I got in, I was a low level, so I was just wandering to my next quest, and I just keep getting killed by level 70s or 80s or whatever they have now. So I was like, yeah, this is not for me. I'm out.
So you're on PvP servers. That sucks.
I don't know. I just clicked on a server and everyone's like, "Oh, you have to go PvP, man." I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
they would say that.
That's what everybody says.
I cannot do PvP servers at all in any game. Like, if there's PvP elements, it's fine. But if it's if it's a server that it's a free for all, no thanks. I would rather have my nails removed with like freaking pliers. No, I hate PvP.
Yeah.
I'm all about player versus environment. I'm a scrub.
Yeah, I think
man,
that's
the
way I would go. Or I'd go roleplay. That could be fun.
Another game I've actually tried out recently was WildStar. So it's interesting because it's kind of like, it's like World of Warcraft, only like the combat's a lot more active, which I like. And I don't know, it's a fun game, and apparently I haven't really played too much of it, but apparently like it's like their free to play model is pretty fair. Like whether you like subscribe to this, I guess you have like a subscription type of thing where you like, it's basically just like you get boosters and like you earn stuff and currency and experience a little bit faster. But other than that, there's no like elements that are inaccessible to somebody who just plays the game and doesn't spend dime on it, you know. So that's the kind of thing that I like. That's another reason why I like Smite, is because I mean, you can unlock all the characters either by just playing the game a bunch, or you can just, you know, buy the Founders Pack, which is like $20, $30. It unlocks all, like, I think there's like 100 or something characters now, which is crazy. And then on top of that, other than that, it's just like cosmetic stuff. There's nothing like game altering that you can purchase about these games. So
those are the kind of free-to-play models that I enjoy, where you don't have to literally play for in-game content.
They're just hard to find.
They are.
It's like free to play. What does that mean, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I've been playing a bunch of. Well, I haven't been playing too much because I've been working on this project. But what I have been playing is The Witcher 3, which is the biggest game of them all. I purchased The Witcher like way back. I think when it first came out, and I was enjoying it, but it wasn't like capturing me the way it captured most people. And it got to a part where it was just a bunch of fetch quests, so I had to go fetch a couple things, run back and forth, and I was like, this might not be for me. So I've come back to it. I've put at least 100 hours into it now. Jeez. And nice. I'm still like low level 20s, and this game might be my favorite game now. Because once you get past like that little area, there's like one little area in one of the bigger cities where you do the fetch quests. It starts opening up more. Start getting more Witcher contracts and side quests. And each of the like every single quest they have has like a lore or a backstory to it, like that fantasy games are known to have, and fantasy books and novels and movies, etc. So you would go into a town, their people are dying or their goats are dying or something, and you learn what's killing it, and you're learning about the creature and its history and like what the people, like for example, they like pray to this being that gave it power, and now you have to go in and like kill it because it's been affecting their village for a while now. And these are just side quest stories. Like everyone, like there's the most famous one I think in this one is the Red Baron, where there's a whole backstory between his wife and his unborn child, and he had to do something with the fetus of his unborn child.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it gets really dark in some places.
Wow. And
I don't think I'm even in like the ballpark for the ending of this game at all. So
hey, this is why I think I want to get the game, but at the same time, I have a feeling it's going to be a lot like Skyrim for me, where I've put, you know, several hundred hours in it, and I'm still not even halfway done with it, and I never will be.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Skyrim games and Oblivion games, I like them. I enjoy them quite a bit. But it's not Witcher. It's not like you have a character that has a history with these people and who's part of a clan where people detest, but they still require his services. Because he's essentially a mutant that's a monster hunter. And everyone hates him because he's a mutant and he has these powers and stuff. And people claim that he's like mind bending people and abusing them. But he's just Geralt. He's just Geralt of Rivia. He's trying his best to save the world.
Interesting.
But yeah,
I've never really played the Witcher series like at all. I've heard like great things about it. I hear you can play The Witcher 3 without playing like the previous titles, and you can still get a good sense of like the lore and the story and everything like that. But it's interesting what you were saying earlier about having to kind of not really grind, but just sort of like trudge through that beginning part of the game, because that's one thing that I feel like is almost necessary in role-playing games. You kind of have to have that one part in the beginning where it's like you have to go through this, you know, whether it as long as it's not like a straight up like hand-holdy tutorial type of thing, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not.
But that's good though. I like stuff like that. It's just, and then like once you get past a certain point, then that's when it's like, okay, now we're gonna open everything up to you. Like I feel like if you were just to like dump somebody, if you were just to dump somebody into a game and just be like, okay, here's an open world, have fun, and then it's just kind of like they end up doing whatever they want, but then they get bored. And because we are who we are, we're we go with what's familiar, so people are less likely to kind of branch out and be like, hey, instead of going off and doing this thing, maybe I should try doing that thing. It's almost like there has to be a part that shows you the different facets of the game without necessarily showing you, like forcing it on you, you know? Like, it's like, oh, go over to this guy, and he's a blacksmith. He just so happens to be a blacksmith, and while you do this thing for him, you just happen to learn about blacksmithing and how to blacksmith stuff. This is just a random example, but I don't know. I almost kind of feel like tutorials, like, I hate tutorials, first of all.
Yeah, the part in The Witcher that I'm talking about isn't tutorial per se. It's just like it's just one part where you finally get to the big city that's in the game, and there's a couple quests where you're just running back and forth between a few people, and that kind of brings it down, because when you're out in the beginning, it's like an open area. You can run around, do all these side quests, do all these different things, and I guess part of the problem was on me was that I have like OCD when it comes to maps. When I see like icons all over maps, I have to clear them all out.
Completionist.
And if I don't do that, then I can't move on to the next thing, right? So that's kind of like part on me as well. But yeah, like as soon as I got out of that area with the city, it's just been so much better.
Does that make it acceptable, though? I mean, to me, I think of things like Final Fantasy 13, which I know I keep talking about Final Fantasy. Give me a break. I'll switch over to Nintendo soon, I'm sure. But in that game, like, everyone says that, oh, you just get through the first 30 hours of tutorials, and then the game really opens up. It's not just one long hallway anymore. And it's like, if you have to play 30 hours into a game, or, 10 hours, or whatever the case is, if you have to play that much of a game for it to actually become fun, is it worth it?
My answer is no.
But that's kind of the argument you're making. It's like, oh, I just had to get through that.
No. It was like, it wasn't even that long, right? It was just a small little part where you just run back and forth between a few people. It was probably maybe at most like 10 minutes.
Oh, well, I thought you said like when you first played it, you played a few hours and like that's all you were doing.
Yeah, no. When I first played it, it was open up. It was an open world, right? So I was running around everywhere doing all those side quests and stuff. And then it got smaller and more concise, which I didn't like. I felt like I was being constrained by the story, that I had to play through that.
Oh, okay.
And then once I was done that part, it opened back up again.
So it's like Final Fantasy 15 syndrome. When like
pretty much, I guess.
It's super open, and then you have like 2 chapters of just story, and then like the end of the game.
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay.
But
that game has an ending?
Oh yeah.
So I've heard.
I finished it. Yeah, I liked Final Fantasy 15. More of the back end stuff, where the more story stuff was. I wasn't too keen on the open world, exploring, side questing. Most of the side quests in that game is fetching tomatoes, though. So
the only thing I really know about Final Fantasy 15 is it's 4 emo boys driving around in a car a lot. That's all I know.
With the soundtrack to Final Fantasy games.
Yes.
I think that's actually their tagline. Like on the box, Final Fantasy 15, 4 emo boys driving around a lot. The game.
How's the combat in 15, by the way? I haven't played it at all. I hear it's like it's reminiscent of like Kingdom Hearts kinda.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like Kingdom Hearts.
Very cool.
Quite a bit.
That's awesome. I like that. That's one of my favorite things about the Kingdom Hearts series was the combat.
There are a few kind of cool, like, unique functions, like I actually really like the magic system. It's simplified in a way that it's only the 3 main elements of fire, blizzard, and thunder. But you combined them, like, you basically get these condensed elements, and you create spells by putting however much power from these elements into it, and then combining that with different items that can give properties such as like dual cast or like poison touch, things like that, to kind of create your own specific spells that do certain things, or like, debuff, that kind of thing. So you make them more powerful by going over like a certain power limit to turn like fire into Fyra, and then you can also have like a 5 cast Fyra that like can do poison or something. I don't think you can do all of those things, but
yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that.
But yeah, and then as you go, you unlock different abilities through the kind of the sphere grid system. Basically, every Final Fantasy since 10 has put in a sphere grid of some sort. So yeah, same idea, but it's more like your active abilities in battle, more so than like actual stat boosts. There's a little bit of that too. Like you can get like an air dodge and things like that by putting points into these skills on your trees. So there's some depth there, but it starts out pretty simple.
It starts out like you're just attacking, and then you have a dodge mechanic as well that you phase through their attacks, kind of like Bayonetta, where you could phase through their attacks, and then you do a counter attack with your buddy Ignis or whoever else you have, Prompto.
And the warp strikes.
And they also have their own abilities that you can trigger off at any point. They do their own different things.
Neat.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat battle system.
Pretty cool. Very cool.
Yeah, if you had any consoles, I'd recommend checking it out. But
I'll probably at some point I'll definitely grab a PS4, if anything, because I mean I feel like getting an Xbox at this point would be kind of pointless. Yeah. But
Microsoft doesn't even care about the Xbox anymore. But that's none of my business.
Right.
Are you sipping tea?
Yeah. Maybe.
Funny. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, that's really the only reason I feel like I would really want to get like a PS4. That and Final Fantasy 15. Really just Squaresoft stuff.
Square Enix.
Sorry. Square Enix. I'll never get used to that. Never.
It's been like 20 years.
I know, and I'm still not used to it.
Squaresoft for life.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts 3, games coming out this year, fellas.
Cool segue.
All right, so we've all looked at this giant list of games that are coming out this year. We're all excited for our own certain things. Actually, just coming up this week, we have Resident Evil 7, right?
Sure.
Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Oh yeah, that's right.
A numbered Resident Evil is coming out. And no one's here is excited at all?
Well, it's not that I'm not excited. It's that like I've been let down by the previous the previous Resident Evil games. I have, to be honest with you, I have not been a fan of Resident Evil since probably, I don't know, the third or fourth entry in the series. After that, and even really during that, I played the first two and fell in love with them, and everything after that just kind of let me down. And some of the remakes and whatnot that they've done, or the ones where they're trying to go back to the original origin story of the game, seem pretty good, but I don't know. I really don't know. They kind of just went in a weird direction with some of the stories.
They're going in an even weirder direction with this one, with it not being third person at all.
Yep.
The first person thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's
first person.
Have you seen any of the footage of the VR? Anyone playing in VR?
I've seen the footage of VR. I've played the demo that they released.
It's weird. It is so weird, but like I feel like if they do it right, it can be really good in VR.
I have some opinions on that. Like in general, I'm not a huge fan of VR. I've kind of discussed this before in other forums, but I appreciate that they're not putting out their own like Resident Evil VR game. Like, you know, the launch of all these VR systems have been like just kind of little budget titles that are, you know, VR gimmicks inside other games like Tomb Raider, Batman, Battlefront, like that kind of thing. I appreciate that they're just saying, here's the game. You can either play it in VR or controller. I really do think we need to see more of that if VR is going to catch on. Just games that also work with VR. I respect that. But
yeah, they're going for it. They're having a numbered sequel to their game. This is huge.
Right. But I'm a little bit afraid that like the reason they're doing that is because the VR is garbage. And they didn't think that they could actually get away with like selling a VR version of it. So they're like, if you want to play this in VR, go ahead and try it. But you're probably going to switch back to controller. It seems more like a novelty. You know what I mean? Which in general now, I feel like VR is a novelty. So there's that. But this specifically, like the fact that they're just kind of tacking it on as like a mode of play, makes me feel like they don't have a lot of faith in it as a product.
I'm not interested in it at all for the VR aspects because I don't own a VR system, right?
Mhm.
If I did, I'd absolutely play it in VR. But what had me excited is that they're kind of going in the new wave of horror with, first person exploration games, kind of like the Amnesia model, PT model, etc., stuff like that. So they're kind of taking their old horror franchise, they flushed it out into an action franchise, and now they're bringing it back to horror.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a cynic because I've never been a huge fan of Resident Evil. But, I mean, I liked 4, don't get me wrong. But,
yeah, everyone liked 4.
Yeah, exactly, except Mark, apparently.
So.
But, I don't know. I haven't seen any zombies, and it looks like Outlast. I feel like they're not going back to the roots. I feel like they're just trying to jump on the bandwagon of what all the other horror games are doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, just watching through the Resident Evil 7 Biohazard teaser that's out there that people have played, I very much so did get a sensation of it's Outlast, it's Outlast 2, it's all the games that run in line with that. And there's not anything wrong with that, of course. I'm not going to disagree with the way a studio decides they want to go with their franchise. Am I going to disagree in regards to how I think that the game should be developed along its storyline? Yeah, because it seems like it's not. I don't see, with what we saw in the playable, the demo, I guess is the best way to put it. With what I saw in that demo, I didn't get Resident Evil out of it at all. I got you're basically stuck on a farm kind of thing. That's the feeling I got. I'm stuck on a farm and there's psychos wanting to kill me.
Like they could have called it something else, and it would have been probably fine.
Yep, exactly.
It's still Resident Evil in the way they have the puzzles set out. So when you play it, you actually pick up like the bullets or whatever. They don't give you a gun, but then you also pick up keys and different things, and it still has that puzzle element to it. So I think with what they're going to go for this one, they might have guns because they give you bullets in the demo. I don't know why you would not have a gun if they give you bullets, right? But I think they're probably going to focus more on the puzzle element and the horror aspects, which is what people have been wanting for quite a long time. And they've delivered a little bit in the Revelations games, which were pretty decent. I've played through those on PC. And I'm going through the HD remaster, so it looks like they're trying to get back to that horror route. Because they absolutely lost it with 6.
I personally thought that like it was the best atmospheric horror during the days of the, static camera, like third-person stuff, because you would walk through a room, like the room itself would be static, and you would just pan yourself through it, and things would jump out at you, or like something would be sitting on the floor, and it would like come alive, and you'd have to fight it in this narrow corridor. And even 4 got
it was
away with
like
that a
kind of
little
the
bit.
original jump scare.
And now like they're kind of going to this first person where I feel like the scares are going to come from things being right outside of your view. So it's like the entire opposite of what the series was based on.
I think the static screens, though, are pretty dated.
They are, yeah.
If you want to try and do that again. I've been playing through the original, and it's still, like, the HD remake of the original, and it still feels quite dated, but it's still fun.
I think what kills static camera and makes it feel so dated is they have yet to, at least in my opinion, from the games that I've played with static cameras, there's always that switch from... with the controller that you're suddenly going forward and now suddenly you're actually going backwards, and if you don't switch your controls quick enough, it'll screw you up. And I have yet to see anybody execute a good layout for that, or I guess a schematic for it. But I mean, I can't blame them. It's I can't even come up with a good solution for it myself.
Yeah,
so.
I definitely agree, and I'm the same way. I just feel like to an extent they lost a lot of the control over their horror and their scares when they gave you control of the camera. And now putting it in first person, it's like a whole new control over the camera that, is even different from the third person days when at least, like, you could see all around you, so they could still have those scares, even though you could, like, do a quick turn to switch around the other direction. But now it's like, everything has to be, in view. Like, a lot of first person games feel very similar to me, as far as their scares and stuff, because there's only one way to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens when it comes out. That's one I'm interested in seeing what people say about it. All right. So, what's everyone's most anticipated game for this year?
Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. Zelda, Mario,
Andromeda.
Yep.
Sonic. Unpopular opinion probably over here, but I was excited. I'm kind of excited for Sonic Mania.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Sonic. I actually have enjoyed a lot of Sonic games. There have been a few bad entries to the franchise, yes. But,
A few.
I mean, yeah, a few. I don't know. I have not paid any attention to the latest stuff because there were so many bad entries that I just kind of gave up, unfortunately. And with the decline of Sega overall, a few years back, I lost my interest in almost everything that was Sega. But Sonic is one of those characters that, as long as you execute the game right, it's a game that I would play, and I would play for hours. And the replayability, as long as there's replayability value, I would probably play it over and over and over again. Hell, I still go back and play the original Sonic games, but that's obviously old.
Yeah, it just seems like it's like it's going back to the whole 2D side-scroller speedrun type of thing, but just like much better animations and stuff, and not just... Because, like, for example, Sonic 4, that game was terrible. I hated that game so much. But Sonic Generations, on the other hand, I love that game. It's fantastic. They do the side-scrolling thing, but then you can switch to, Act 2, quote-unquote, and then you're in, like, the classic 3D, like, the good classic, like, 3D, like, running, like, mechanics from the newer Sonic games, which I like.
Yeah, Generations was amazing.
It was really good.
Exactly what you said.
I've got that on Steam. I haven't started it yet. But
yeah, it's like it harkens, like just what Lo said, harkens back, but it also does something new and different on like a little twist on the classic style with the 3D.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Sonic fan. I always knew of the series because one of my friends was like just as big into Sonic as he was like Mario and stuff. But I do really like appreciate this new one. I'm not going to get it, just totally honest, because like I said, I'm not a huge Sonic fan. But I appreciate this new one because it's being made by like these fan creators. Like they made a fan Sonic game that was amazing, apparently. And so they got hired by Sega to make the new Sonic game, like the fan game they made.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like they didn't get shut down or anything. They didn't get a cease and desist. They were like, "Hey, you made a really good product. You want to make an official one?" And I think that's super cool.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
There's a lot of...
If only Nintendo did something like that.
I know, right? There's a lot of really good Sonic fan games out there. There's one called Sonic World, actually. They basically took Sonic 06 and they mixed it with Sonic Heroes, but they took all the buggy stuff out and they added a ton of characters that you can play as, and it's actually really fun. Like it's a
3D game.
It's a fully 3D game. I think they used like the models from Sonic 06. It looks like, but the animations are a little bit better. Like the characters are more fleshed out and a little more unique and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really fun. Sonic World is what it's called. If you guys ever feel like giving that a shot,
Just check that out. Does he still bone a human woman?
No, none of that.
Okay, cool.
Oh, that's the best part.
That was...
You can find it on YouTube.
That was weird. That was weird.
Yeah, going back to Mark, Mass Effect Andromeda is another huge one that I'm anticipating.
Yeah, it's like going through a lot of the forums I go across to try and get information or just talk to people about it. I'm kind of odd because I don't want a lot of spoilers for the game. That's the way I am with a lot of things. I don't want spoilers for movies, spoilers for games. So I try to avoid the big public media. I try to talk to people and say, can you give me, out of what you saw out of this, can you give me the information that's relevant that I need to know, but don't ruin the story?
Just give me the premise.
Yeah, give me the premise. Don't ruin the story for me. I don't want to know that I'm going to die alone somewhere on a frickin' world that I've never been to. I don't need to know that. That's not part of the story. That's totally going to happen a lot in that game, I'm sure. But, you would expect that they would have put out a lot more information than they have on that game. They have been very quiet, I think, in comparison to other
quiet.
stuff. Yes. Yeah. Like, they do have the Andromeda Initiative, which I've been going through. And that's really the only thing that you're getting because they're not doing publications or media releases of any kind saying, hey, this is where we're at in the game. They're keeping very closed mouth, which to me is a sign of potentially a good game, but it's just as much potentially a sign of a game that is going to be overhyped and it's going to fail hard. And
they just don't have a confidence in it, right?
Yes. And I hope beyond everything, because I am such a Mass Effect fanboy, I hope that Andromeda comes out and that it is everything that Mass Effect 3 was supposed to be and more, and that they nail it. Because I have faith in the fact that the core Bioware team, the guys behind the vision and reality of Andromeda, I think they've been given enough power that they're going to make this game happen, and it's going to be good. But you always have to worry about the studio execs coming in and going, no, we don't like this, so let's do it this way because we obviously know what we're doing, even though we basically don't play games. That's the feel I get from studio execs. So
the last thing I seen from, or heard about, actually, I haven't seen it yet, but they had footage at CES at some Samsung or Vizio thing. Like, they showed off a little bit of gameplay there, and I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
I feel like as far as this whole kind of their limited information that they're putting out, I remember talking to Zero about this a while back, but the way like games are marketed nowadays, very different from how they used to be. Because before it was all about having limited information on a game. They're just like, hey, this game is going to be amazing. And then it's just like, wait, mm-hmm. Tell me more. And then that was it, Yeah. We didn't have the internet.
But then the internet happened.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a 30-second commercial. It was just like snippet here, snippet there, get this game. It's going to be the best. And then it's just like, that's it, So there's kind of like, I kind of feel like there's two possibilities with this Andromeda thing. They're either going back to that old style of marketing and putting the allure back into gaming and stuff like that, because that alone attracts people. People are curious and they want to learn more about stuff, especially if there's not a lot of information on something out there. And it's either that they're going back to that kind of old style of marketing. It's either that, or the only concern I really have is, do the devs, will they be given enough time to do what they want to do?
Yeah, well, their whole marketing thing has been odd, because even like the past couple of years at E3, they don't really show anything about it. They say, "Oh yeah, we're working on it. Trust us. Mm-hmm. It's going to be good." And also Mass Effect, I think this might be like the marquee title for BioWare, right? What else has BioWare really made?
They've made Dragon Age, but I mean,
yeah, but that's a few years ago, right?
Yeah, they haven't been working on anything else, which is the one area I'm kind of like, I want to think of the best, mostly for you, Mark. But the one thing that worries me is when they just kind of announce like 3 or so months before that it's coming out like March, which conveniently is right at the end of the fiscal year for most businesses. So one thing I'm kind of worried about is they're basically rushing to get it out, like that, that Q4 or Q1, whatever the case is. And then it might not be necessarily complete form, but they're like, crap, we need to make some money so that our numbers aren't negative. And then throughout the year, they'll put out, they said they aren't putting out a season pass. I did see that, but they can still put out, individual DLC type of things to kind of keep supporting the game and essentially finishing it, as games are wont to do these days. And so like the game you get at launch is basically to pad their wallets so that they can finish the game, because they don't want their numbers to look bad by putting out a game after the fiscal year is over.
Right. And those of us that are huge into Mass Effect really hope that that's not what's happening. We're aware that could be what's happening, and I think I speak for a lot of people in the Mass Effect fandom when I simply state, as long as BioWare doesn't give us another red, green, blue, then I think we're going to be okay with it. As long as they don't do that again, then we should be okay. They can give us a game that is mostly complete, and we're probably not going to have a big deal with it. I am concerned, though, that they're even though there's not going to be a season pass, like you said, I am concerned they're going to release an unfinished game and then say, oh, by the way, here's this DLC for $20 that basically closes up all these loopholes that we left in the game because we didn't have time to do it, but we had the 3 months when we were in code freeze and production that we just sat down and made this up to make the core game itself actually now make sense.
Yeah, when you say red, green, blue, just for people that are listening and don't know what that means, you mean the ending of Mass Effect 3,
yes,
right?
I'm sorry, the ending of Mass Effect 3. I try to keep it spoiler-free because I know there's people that have not played the game, and that's as spoiler-free as you can be. And it's just bad.
I think the fate of Andromeda is like, just because they're silent doesn't mean it's death.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've had games that come out when they were silent. Like Doom last year was a phenomenal game.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't have any kind of press or like huge marketing campaigns, right? It just came out and everyone's like, this is actually pretty damn good.
Doom was amazing. I haven't personally played it. I've watched people play it, including my roommate has played it.
I've probably played it. I played it twice.
It's fantastic. I especially like watching people that don't know how to play a game like that, and just the failure that they go through as they're learning it, and then suddenly it's like you're watching them fail, and then it finally ticks. It's like you can watch it tick on their face how they have to play this game, and then all of a sudden
you have to get in there.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's just like, wow, you went from being a really passive person who wants to try to take distance shots to you are now ripping everyone's spleens out and beating them to death with their toes.
I figured that out in the course of the demo even. I was like, this is not a normal shooter.
Yeah, no, it's
Nope.
I don't even want to call it a shooter because it's like you have a gun, but it's preferable to beat the living crap out of everything.
Yeah, you use the gun until they get weak enough, and then you rip them limb from limb. It's like what Mighty Number 9 wanted to be.
Yeah.
You just had to bring that up, didn't you?
I'm sorry.
If you want like an actual good like game that's Mega Man like, 20XX. I actually heard about it because Zero played it on his channel. I was like, this game, I need this in my life. And I can tell you, like, as far as like the controls, everything down to even like the abilities that you get, it's basically Mega Man X, but just rogue style. Like you die, you start all over, you lose all your upgrades and all that kind of stuff. It's really good game though. Check it out. Speaking
of games that have coming out in March, Justin.
Zelda? Is it
Zelda?
Is it time for Zelda?
It's Zelda time!
I was actually just I think it's still up in my tabs. I was actually just watching the Nintendo Treehouse Live coverage of Breath of the Wild, and I want it so bad right now. If my Switch pre-order gets canceled, I am going to murder the entire store of Best Buy.
Please give Zero a Switch, please.
I still just don't know why they managed to decide to name the manly green tunicked character a girl's name, Zelda.
Get out. Boot him from this podcast right now. No, it actually took me a second, because in this one, Zelda's also wearing a blue tunic. Like, she looks playable, which
right.
I'm a little curious about, actually.
Yeah.
But no, this game is legit. Like, for one, you were talking about how big The Witcher 3 is, and they actually did a map comparison recently, and Breath of the Wild is the largest world map of, as far as I know, any game so far. It's huge.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Wow,
I've seen
really?
that, yeah. It's crazy.
And all of what I've seen from it so far, it's not empty. Like, I'm sure there's some long patches, but even if you look at, like, Ocarina of Time, you know, that world wasn't entirely inhabited? There we go.
There you go. You found it.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be, you know, spans of nothing. Like, that, it would be weird if there was stuff in every square inch of a map.
I mean, that's how the world is. There's nothing sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, look at the desert. There's nothing but scorpions that want to eat your
exactly.
face.
But there has to be, you know, regular, like, outposts and like, enemies and things like that. You know, something to do as you're going across. But, yeah, they showed, like, friggin', you started in that Sinto Plateau where all the demos and stuff started. And then you can jump off in any direction. So, like, you basically just, you know, pick a direction and then go wherever you want, like, as far as starting the game off, basically. There's towns all over the place. There's, you know, dungeons in every direction, all that stuff. And they showed him, like, jumping off the plateau and, like, flying, like, on the paraglider, trying to land on a horse.
The sailcloth, you mean?
It's called a paraglider, but yes.
It looks like it from Skyward Sword.
But yeah, they showed him landing on, like, trying to land on the horse. And he almost did, but the horse didn't like him and kicked him off. But if you've already tamed a horse, which is part of the process, you can actually, fly on, land on your horse, and just start riding. Like, it's a seamless transition from, like, flying to horse riding. And, like,
there's going to be something cool in that game where you're at the top of, like, is it Mount Doom? I can't remember. Death Mountain. I'm sorry.
Death Mountain.
I don't know why I had Mount Doom in my mind, but Death Mountain. There's going to be something cool where you're going to jump off that and, like, land on Epona.
Probably. I imagine that's going to be, like, the big thing. Is, like, people do trick shots in Zelda.
Yeah.
And, like, it's going to be the new Call of Duty. Like a 360 no-scope, like, Epona ride or something. I don't even know.
You see people doing those shield sledding.
Yeah. And that's cool too. Like, that's my thing. Is like, I don't care that it's a big world. They've given so many fun ways to, like, traverse it. And just the game looks beautiful. Like, I love the art style. Like I said, it's a good world. Like, they've put so much stuff into it. All the new, like, item concepts and stuff. Like, just every new thing they show of the game just makes it look better and better. And the voice acting and, like...
The trailer they put together for it during the Switch presentation was amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I felt...
It looked beautiful and full of life, and just... It reminded me a lot of Wind Waker, but then again, what Zelda game nowadays doesn't remind you a little bit of Wind Waker because of the vibrant colors that they use. It very much so made me go, okay, if there's no other game that I get a Switch for, I have to get the Switch for this game.
That's because you don't have a Wii U, right?
I do have a Wii U, but I don't want to buy it on the Wii U.
Because I think I'm going to get it on the Wii U. I don't think I'm going to get a Switch immediately.
I read through... I'm not going to get the Switch either at launch, but I read through a couple articles on the differences between the Switch version and the Wii U version, and while the game itself is basically going to be the same, there is going to be a difference in frame rate, from what a lot of people have said, and even comparing the E3 2016 and 2017 Wii U versions, you can see there is a frame rate difference between the Wii U and the Switch. But there's going to be a lot of the stuff that they're doing with the Switch console hardware wise, and I'm sure we'll probably get into that later. That availability they can't do that on the Wii U, so it's going to be more like, it's basically going to be a lot like how they took Wind Waker and made it Wind Waker HD on the Wii U. That there's some interesting concepts to it and some new ways to play the game, but it's not the same as the original version, which Nintendo has come out and said the original version of Breath of the Wild was developed in the idea that we were going to have the Nintendo NX or the Switch as the core base platform. Anything else was just a side project.
Really?
So, yeah, they are developing it for the Wii U because it is still a relevant console, and they know a lot of people are not going to go out and buy a Switch, so they want to give them this, but they're also at the same time trying to say, okay, it's time for a new console. We're trying to innovate and do the things that Nintendo's customers want us to do, and move forward by producing the Switch and producing Zelda on the Switch.
And also, I wouldn't have to stop playing it when I go poop. So, there's that.
My bathroom is right next door to where my Wii U is, so I'm good.
I mean, mine's in range, but my Wii U screen sucks. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm using a third-party charging base, because my cat ate my cord.
Of course, that's what cats always do.
Like, it seriously went downhill within, like, the first few months, and it's really low res and just, like, not good. And I've seen this Switch screen, like, not, in person, obviously, but I've seen it, like, in action, just with, a video camera pointed at it, capturing footage. And even that way, which is hard to make something look good when you're pointing a video camera at it, it looks really good. Mm-hmm. Like, as far as a 720p screen,
it does.
It looks beautiful. So anything that plays on there is going to be fine. Like, people can complain, these other systems are 4K, but if you can get 720 looking really good, who cares? It's a 6.2 inch screen.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say it's a 6.2-inch screen. Do you really need 1080? Are your eyes going to be able to discern the difference on a 6-inch screen between 720 and it's just not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, my Wii U screen is not doing so well, but that's because I haven't played it in a while, so it's got a bunch of dust on it.
Mm.
I need to clean it.
I don't. To be honest with you, I'm going to admit something. I have not physically used my Wii U gamepad other than to turn the system on. I have not used the actual gamepad for any reason on any game because I like the Wii U Pro Controller 1,000 times better. I do not like the Wii U gamepad at all. It literally, I look at it and my wrists and my knuckles, they all start screaming, "You're giving us carpal tunnel just looking at the damn thing."
Yeah, it's super awkward. Like if you compare like the Switch, tablet with controllers next to the Wii U, it's like the difference between the first generation like DS Fat and the 3DS. Like the sleekness difference, it's sad.
I don't know. I think it's all right once I clean it up because I was playing, like, I haven't played it in such a long time, but I was playing Bayonetta 2 in bed last night, and it's fine for stuff like that if you just want to lay in bed and play a game, which is what the Switch is probably going to be for me as well going forward.
Right.
Just play Mario or Zelda in bed. That's about it.
If it wasn't for that damn cursed blue light from electronics, I would be more than happy to play the Switch in bed, right before bed, sleep, whatever.
I think of it more like for travel stuff. Like it's coming out before Planet Comic-Con, so I could take it there, and then like after a long day out on the con floor, like come home, like get in the hotel room and just relax with some Zelda for a little while. It'd be really nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Or like on a trip.
I think
like,
that
just going a few hours to like St. Louis or something, take it in the car. Like it's people are complaining about the battery life, but it's good enough for a car trip.
True.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the most appealing thing with the Switch is the portability aspect of just bringing it to work and play on a lunch break or
that too.
Playing in bed, something like that. Yep. Like just something simple and nice. And then when you get home, you could play it on your TV.
Right. And one of the things that granted, I don't know how cumbersome all of the dock and the charger and the, cables and all that's going to be, but I'm sure we've all done this where we've packed up our game console and we've tried our best to protect it and make sure it's not going to get damaged, and we take it, cross country or wherever we're going. I normally go from Wichita to either Kansas City or Omaha, Nebraska, and trying to take a console with you because it doesn't have a portability function to it, but you want to play games with your friends is a pain in the butt. And the Switch is going to add a lot of interesting ability. And if they do it right, it might even be something that the dock and its accessories are easy enough to pack that you don't have to really worry like you used to, and it's going to be a quick and easy, fast setup. You'll be able to enjoy things, tear it down, go to a different place. I mean, the one of the big groups that I belong to right now is talking about having either a launch day or a near launch day party at like one of the beercades that's in Kansas City. Of everybody's going to bring their brand new Switch to the beercade, and they're all going to hook it up, and they're all going to do local multiplayer with their brand new Switches.
I
just
tried doing that for my birthday, remember? Like a few weeks after that.
Exactly, yes.
You guys going to play 1-2 Switch?
Probably not.
You know what?
You want to milk some cows, guys?
I'm going to
milk
milk
some cows. That game looks interesting, I'll admit, but it's not worth like a full price game. It should have been packed in with the console. I know they were saying that they didn't do that to cut costs, but how much could that game be? Like, it's a $50 game. Well, it should not be a $50 game.
Here it's $60 because it's the freaking Canadian dollar is garbage.
Yep. And if you think about it, all that 1-2 Switch is its Wii Sports Resort or the Wii Academy, whatever that game was that came with the original Wii, that was, oh, look, you can play tennis, you can play baseball, you can play bowling. It's like, okay, so how many different ways do you need to showcase your motion control? How about you give me an actual, real, full-blown game that uses all of this and I can have fun with, not 12 mini games where I'm basically milking a cow and playing.
We don't know
baseball.
how many.
Although that would be an interesting combination.
Exactly. We don't know how many games are in there yet. They haven't announced the full lineup. It's an interesting concept, and I would like to test it out, but it's not something that I would buy for myself.
Yeah, I'd get Bomberman.
Right.
Like, that'd be a cool, like, look, if you're sharing a screen, that'd be difficult, but if you had 8 Switches, connected locally and every person is on their own screen playing Bomberman together, that'd be pretty awesome.
That'd be pretty cool.
Okay, so real quick, like, because you just brought up local multiplayer, split screen, etc. I saw, and I know this has been brought up on the internet in a million different places, I saw a screenshot where it was 4 people playing on their Switches, local multiplayer, because they had both Joy-Cons in their hands, and it was I want to say it was Mario Kart, if I remember the screenshot correctly, and the screen was still split 4 ways. Why would they do that? Does that make any sense to anyone? Like, I'm literally staring at these people that are right next to me, that they're staring at their screen. We each have our own screen. Why is this thing 4 up? It shouldn't be.
I would assume either that was just a concept image. Like they literally just put the 4-player multiplayer on the screen. It wasn't actually running. Or it was how they were playing, maybe. Because I imagine you can change that.
Thing. Yeah.
Like, maybe, like, toggle the select button or, minus button, whatever the case is, and, like, switch from, from, like, shared screen to single screen, that kind of thing. Because it's got to be like the 3DS, where you are just basically a LAN. So you can either do online, split screen on the Switch itself, or you connect the screens together, and, like, each of you is your own screen. So it was probably just a concept mistake. But if it is actually like that, like you have to be split screen, even though you each have your own screen, that would be really dumb. I'll admit.
Yeah, they would have to patch it. I think everyone would bitch about it, and they would have to release some kind of a patch to fix that, to be honest.
So I think I saw, like, in the trailers and stuff that they had each person on their own.
Yeah. So Thomas, do we want to switch it up and actually talk about the Switch?
That's what we've been doing.
Although I will say real quick, I do think it's funny that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming out like so close to Zelda, because conceptually they're relatively similar. But yeah, Horizon is a new IP going against like what's probably going to be the best version of one of the world's favorite franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they do that?
There's a lot going up against it in March, I think.
Yeah, but that's literally like 3 days apart. And they're similar
true.
games. Both huge open worlds, that kind of thing. Like, you don't put an original IP out that close to something else that's very similar to it and much more established. It's gonna eat their sales. Unless they're just basically betting people that don't have, a Nintendo console are gonna get Horizon.
That's actually... That's probably true, but I bet Zelda's going to have like a 90% attach rate or something like that. Mm-hmm. So,
because there's not much else to attach to the Switch. But
Switch or Wii U, because people might not want to buy the Switch, right?
That's true. And they did say that Zelda's the last Nintendo Wii U game, which is kind of sad. But
well, it's not surprising.
What's surprising is that they're still developing.
Yeah, I was going to say
I think they should kill both of them, but
oh god,
that's just me.
What is it that they're coming out with? A new Fire Emblem? Yeah. Or is that a remake of the second Fire Emblem?
No, it's not a remake. It's
I think it's a sequel that's set in that same world, right?
Yeah, it's based on that one. So I assume it's probably like not necessarily a remake, but like a spiritual like reimagining, maybe. But yeah, the fact that they had a Nintendo Direct and they announced that like. They
announced like 4 Fire Emblem games or something.
Yeah, and the one that there was one that's just going to the Switch, like an actual new Fire Emblem game, which is going to be huge, by the way.
Yeah, they have Fire Emblem Warriors, which is Teko Komi.
Yeah, and that one's going to Switch and 3DS, which is dumb.
And then they're going to make a legit Fire Emblem game for the Switch.
Right.
And then they have the 3DS Fire Emblem game.
Yeah, and then the mobile.
And then the mobile one. I love Fire Emblem. I've played the most recent one I've played was Awakening, which wasn't the recent one. I still need to play the new one. I think it's like Birthright or something like that.
There's a couple titles for it, I think. It was like a multi-release thing. But...
So I still need to play those, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for the new Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, but like Fire Emblem is a pretty huge series now, surprisingly. And the fact that the one that's coming out this year, as far as I know, Warriors is coming out this year, is going to Switch and 3DS, just seems like a misstep for them. Like, in general, they're talking about how this is a console and a portable, and yet it's not going to, like, take the sales from the 3DS. It's like they're not sure of what they want to do with it, and they don't think it holds its own as a handheld, so they're still putting out 3DS stuff. But that just makes people think that they don't need the Switch, because, to be totally honest, it's a better handheld than it is a console. Because it's...
But didn't Nintendo, like, a couple years ago, didn't they actually more or less merge their portable division, their portables division with their home consoles division? And that's why everyone started to speculate immediately that the next big console from Nintendo was going to be a hybrid.
Yeah.
So why would they continue with, I mean, both being under the same thing, why would they continue and have doubt that the Switch is going to be as good, if not more popular than the 3DS? That is honestly confusing.
It's because the 3DS has such a large install base, right? And they're tapering off. This might be the last year for 3DS games. That's what I would predict. So but everything is tapering off, and it's going to be like the last couple. Yeah, but they're going to market it so that it's a Switch game first and foremost, right?
No. What they were saying, like even at the Twitch presentation, or not Twitch, Switch presentation.
Switch, yeah.
They were saying that the 3DS.
Gotta Twitch your Switch.
Yeah, the 3DS still has a long life ahead of it, which is essentially the same thing they said when the DS came out. They're like, oh no, this is the third pillar alongside the Game Boy Advance. Game Boy
Classic
Advance is
third pillar.
But the way they do that is confusing because it's basically saying that you can get this third thing. It'll be great. And it'll work with your other things. I don't know why they said third thing because it really is replacing the Wii U. That's dead. But yeah, this third thing alongside our other things. Don't worry, we're still going to be supporting them. And then within a year, those things are dead. And it's like, you didn't get the new thing? It's like, well, no, you said we didn't have to. And it's just, it's confusing from a marketing standpoint. And they need to nail that. Like, that's one thing. They put out good games. They put out good consoles. They put out innovation. But their marketing is terrible half the time.
The marketing for this is 100% better than the Wii U, though.
Yeah, but it's still pretty confusing. Like, I am sold on this thing. Yeah. I have my pre-order. It's day one for me. I'm super excited. Like, I'm counting down the days until this thing comes out. I am a fanboy at heart. But I can see that.
I heard a Wii U go off somewhere.
Yeah, mine just turned on. It does that. It hurt. I'm betraying it. But
don't forget me.
Go to sleep, Wii U. No one wants you. But
so harsh.
The thing is, like, with their marketing here, they're basically saying that like the Switch is a culmination of everything they've put into every other console, which sounds great in concept. You know, like they even mentioned the handle from the GameCube, like that was innovation.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But, yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Made it easier to smash it against things.
That's true. No games! But yeah, what it really says is that there's no true sense of, like, unity in this console. Because it has a touchscreen, which isn't that practical when it can be docked, and you can't actually use the tablet when it's docked, which means you don't have access to that touchscreen, which means
we haven't seen anyone use it at all.
Right. I feel like it's going to be for, like, menu navigation.
We haven't even seen anything
internet functions, menus. That kind of thing. They did actually show it at the Treehouse. It looks pretty good. It's like a
really
like kind of the Wii U menu, but like modified on an Android operating system type thing, kind of like it's like the Wii U mixed with the 3DS. It's pretty cool. You'll have to look it up. It's hard to explain, but just tiles basically across the screen. And kind of similar to the PS4 menu too. But yeah, it's got a touchscreen, which isn't very functional to use. It's got the motion controls, which, again, you don't have to use because they pretty much have said that every game, including things like ARMS, can use the Pro Controller. It's got portability, but the battery life is on average 3 hours. Which, again, I don't mind, but a lot of people have been complaining that doesn't make it very portable. I don't know what they're expecting out of a, basically PS4-powered handheld device. Look at the Vita. That wasn't any better than 3 hours. And it's essentially Nintendo's Vita, except hopefully, better success.
And the original 3DS didn't have good battery life either, right?
Right. And they did say, like, there's replaceable batteries. Like, there's USB-C, so you could literally just, like, plug a portable battery charger into it.
Yeah.
Like, just one of those packs. Most people have one for Pokemon Go. Just use that. You'll be fine. It's not some proprietary charger or anything.
I feel like everyone carries around a charger for their phone nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine.
And that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to touch on is we as consumers and gamers who expect to have this portability, we are, a lot of us, not all of us, a lot of us are demanding that these manufacturers make these consoles or these portable devices that have amazing battery life. And so the developer of this product sits down and they go, what can we do to make this better? And they come up with new freaking technology for the batteries, better, storage capacity for the batteries. They're increasing exponentially. 10 years ago, having a cell phone that was the size that our current cell phones are, that do the things they are, and expecting it to last more than an hour would have been complete, absolute
insanity.
Nonsense. It wouldn't have happened. And now it's like we're bitching because, I complain. I've got a Samsung 7 Edge, and I complain because I use it throughout the day, and by the time I leave the house at 7 a.m., and by the time I leave my work at 5 p.m., I'm at 20% battery. That sucks. I don't even use my phone all that much. It sucks, and I look at the battery display information. It tells me, oh, it's your screen. Okay, so we've got to build technology that uses less power for things like the screen and whatnot, but we're still, as gamers and consumers, complaining that we want extremely long and, to be honest with you, unreasonable life expectancy on, for instance, the Switch. The most common thing that I've heard people say in regards to how long they'd like to see the battery life, they want 8 hours. And I'm sitting there going, you are not going to get 8 hours out of anything other than an iPad. And that's because 70% of an iPad is the frickin' battery. I mean, if you really want 8 hours, we can give you 8 hours. We're also going to give you a 12-pound console that's portable. We're going to put a handle on it. So, I mean, the fact that we're getting 3 hours, I think, is actually phenomenal, to be honest with you. I mean, you're going to be playing a video game that is not only going to be using the CPU, but the GPU, and probably at a decent rate. And 3 hours is good. I mean, imagine being able to take a laptop somewhere with you and play a full-fledged game like, I don't want to use Skyrim because the game's too old, but
it's Doom. Let's say Doom.
Okay, so yeah, can you imagine taking a laptop and trying to play a game like Doom for 3 hours straight? I personally do not know of a laptop one that's going to manage
even run
to do that.
Doom.
Not without being plugged in. Well, I mean, I know of some
but those cost like
$3,000.
CES had some.
Yeah.
Those are
folding out
things.
ones?
But
yeah, that one was crazy.
Right. But when you look at those laptops, for instance, you're not only having to pay an arm and a leg for them, you're getting desktop performance off of a battery.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably say that almost every one of the engineers responsible for helping design that particular device is probably going to look at you when you say, what's the expected battery life out of this product? They're going to look at you and go, it's meant to be plugged in, you moron. It's a fucking computer. It can't not be plugged in. And it's, for me, I just kind of laugh when people are like, I want 8 hours out of my Wii U tablet. Okay, that's fine. It's literally just going to sit on a menu the entire time. It's not going to refresh unless it's prompted to refresh. And it's going to be very dim, and it's going to be very grainy because we're throttling everything possible to give you that 8 hours worth of battery life that you want. And I kind of find it funny, personally, that that's where we're at in that segment of things. I think the Switch is going to be excellent on battery life. Yes, 3 hours is the what they're saying is going to be the normal expected battery life
Zelda,
out of
which
it.
I assume
but they've
is
said
average.
straight, right, and they've said straight out that it's going to be anywhere between 2.5 and
6.
I think it's Was it 6 hours? Yeah, 6 hours, depending upon the game. And if you look at the hardware specs for the Switch itself, you have to understand they can't do anything with the CPU. The CPU is going to use the same amount of power no matter what. You can't change CPU architecture or power midway in a game and expect the game to still run. It's not possible. But you can clock the memory down. You can clock the GPU down. You can make the system underperform in everything except for the CPU. That's going to get you better battery life, but it's also going to make things maybe not be as nice. So it's literally a balancing act of you want a nice game, you want good battery life, and you want good performance. We have to balance all of this out so that we can give you something. Yes, exactly. For $300, we have to play this balancing game that's going to give you almost everything you want, but you're going to be let down in at least one. Everybody I know is let down by at least one aspect of the Switch, if not multiple. Yeah. I've talked to some people. They're like, I'm not interested in it. It looks like the ugliest thing I've seen. It's not. It can't compete with the PS4 or the
ugly.
Xbone.
What are you talking about? Ugly?
Why would I want this?
It has the neon controls. Do you see that? Red and blue.
Oh, right.
It's beautiful.
I actually think two blues. I'd be happy.
I think
screw you, red and blue. Nobody wants your mix-match mess.
I think.
Sorry.
The Switch by itself, just slate gray. I actually think the console does look sleek. It does look sexy. It looks updated. But as I recently told somebody that I know that was trying to tell me that Nintendo is dead, I was like, first of all, no, they're not dead. They are on the verge of they need to do something or they're going to begin dying, and rapidly, yes. But the Switch is that answer. They're trying a very, very intuitive design.
You can't even get pre-orders for this thing anymore.
Try and appease everybody.
Like, they open up pre-orders, and then as soon as they open them up, they're gone again. I can't get one. I've been trying, I've been having this debate in my mind. I'm like, I need to buy it. And then the other side is like, just wait a second. It costs us way too much for Canadian purposes. It's like $400 here.
Right.
Games are $80. That's way too much money for me to spend right now.
Yeah.
And their accessories cost like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah. And I don't think that Nintendo, if Nintendo wanted to compete with PlayStation or Sony, I should say Sony and Microsoft, you'd be getting a $500 console. I have no doubt about that. But I don't want a boring
$500 console from Nintendo. I want their stupid, crazy, weird shit that
the PS Vita was more than the Switches, and arguably the PS Vita doesn't perform as well.
Right. I think honestly that Nintendo is going to do well with this. I think it is going to breathe a little extra new life and rejuvenation into Nintendo. It's going to bring some more people that maybe would not have ever been interested in Nintendo before. And that is always something that you want to strive for, is breathing new life into the company, you don't have to be cutting edge and innovative to be a lively and productive company. It helps, but they've never been. I don't honestly think that since
the Super Nintendo.
I was going to say the Super Nintendo. No, actually, I'd probably say the Nintendo 64, maybe the GameCube. Those were the last consoles that Nintendo put out where they were trying explicitly to compete with other consoles and keep ahead of the game, or at least on par with the game. And after the GameCube, I think they just kind of went, we're going to do our own thing and see how it works. And it's worked out well enough for them that they've just kind of stuck with it.
Except for the Wii U.
That's, well,
R.I.P. Wii U.
Which
I love my Wii U, but yeah.
Yeah. It is nice to see that, like, the Switch is getting, like, remixes or sequels to popular Wii U games, because it had, like, some solid stuff. Like, Mario Kart 8 is easily the best Mario Kart ever made. Splatoon was an amazing new IP that a lot of people didn't play.
I never tried it. I'd like to try it on the Switch. They made, they funded and published Bayonetta 2, which was a critical darling.
Which I could see getting ported over too.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to have backwards compatibility. They did, or at first anyway. I could see some digital backwards compatibility type stuff happening somehow. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some of those things ported over as premium editions. Like, I'm super excited for Battle Mode coming back in Mario Kart 8. I will totally buy that game again.
Yeah, Battle Mode was pretty good in Super Nintendo version.
Not in 64 block forward.
I've never played the 64 in Mario Kart.
I've played a lot of the different Mario Karts, and I've enjoyed it. I haven't played any of them. I take that back. I have played one of them on the DS. I do own it on the DS. I've only played a couple hours worth of it, but anything that wasn't the portable version of it, I have played, and I've enjoyed most of them. I agree with you on that, Justin, that Mario Kart 8 is probably easily the best Mario Kart to date. I would like to see them capitalize on that and make it even better potentially for the Switch. And release Mario Kart 9 or whatever they're going to do. Mario Kart Switch.
I'm sure they still will.
Because they're going to overuse that.
Something that they can put out relatively easily in the launch window.
I mean, let's put it this way. My wife is not a gamer in any way, shape, or form, but she occasionally will come up to me on like a Friday or Saturday afternoon, evening, and be like, do you want to play Mario Kart? And the fact that me as a gamer, my roommate as a hardcore gamer, and my wife who is not a gamer can all sit down and enjoy a game, and it's fun, and it does not get boring and repetitive. Yeah. That right there. You've checked all of the important boxes for a game that, to me, is the family-based game.
Like my mom, she has a Wii mostly for like Just Dance games and stuff like that. And I got her to do a video with me of playing Mario Kart 8. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but it was pretty great. Like, my mom playing Mario Kart. And she enjoyed it so much that she went and got, like, Mario Kart for the Wii after that. I guess the one, like, actual, like, game that she has. And she was getting pretty good at it. Like, she was doing a lot of practicing and stuff. She's like, I want to be able to beat you guys. Like, Mario Kart brings people together. It's awesome. Like, Nintendo brings people together.
They absolutely do. You don't see that with anyone else, with Sony or Microsoft. Like, you just don't. I don't hear any of those stories at all.
Yeah, that's the thing that Nintendo has capitalized on a lot, is they are a family-oriented console and gaming company. I mean, look at the original NES when it came out. Yes, there were a couple games that were different that probably weren't family-oriented, arguably, but, I mean, they came out with games like, the original Zelda, which, I don't know, I don't think that's necessarily a family game.
I watched my aunt play it.
You could at least enjoy watching. Yeah, you could at least enjoy watching people play it. Mario Brothers was, I mean, come on, who wasn't raised on Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah, either Mario Brothers or Mario World or Mario 64, any of those, right?
Right. I know very few people. My wife is an exclusion because she hails from a part of Kansas that I'm surprised they even have running indoor plumbing. But she even recalls that she loves playing Super Mario Brothers or Sonic the Hedgehog, specifically Sonic 2, not the first one. Toe Jam and Earl, those are the games that she played, but she only played them for like 20 minutes at a time and then rage quit over them. Is what I remember her telling me. But it's Nintendo has always been, we want to bring people together. We don't want to drive you apart. We don't want to see 20 people playing a game in different parts of the country and not talking to each other. We want those 20 people to go and sit on the same couch together. And of course, some of the times that's not possible, which is why they're doing all the internet connectivity that they do. But they're very much so get everyone together, have a good time, and hopefully have a clean time about it. Although there's some games that, cleans out the door right away as soon as the boot screen comes up. But,
Well, no, yeah, to be honest with you guys, I never grew up on Nintendo. I was a Sega kid. I had a Genesis, and then I skipped all that BS and then went straight to the Dreamcast, but I still had my my contact with Nintendo. Like, my cousin had a Super NES. That was the first time I ever played Mario World. So I know, like, when you guys say Mario World, and like I get the nostalgia feels for that stuff too. And then anything, and when I discovered emulators and stuff like that, I was able to actually go back and play a lot of these like in Super NES games, and arguably they're some of the best games of the era. So, but as far as the whole thing with Nintendo bringing people together, and not as opposed to setting them against each other, that's absolutely spot on. I agree with that 100%. And another thing I enjoy about Nintendo, which is why I think the Switch will do so good, is because Nintendo's really the only like company that's really ever been able to do portables like effectively. Like aside from like smartphone games and stuff like that, I mean, yeah, that's cool and everything, but like as far as like
and the PSP was cool, and same with I love my Vita as well.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get that much love from a lot of people, but I like it.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're the only ones that were able to actually effectively create a widely used system.
I think that's partially due to legacy, just because it's like when the PS Vita came out, I was like, okay, it's a portable. Or when the PSP originally came out, I was like, it's a portable.
The
PlayStation.
PSP was huge too.
Yeah,
because of Monster Hunter. And
oh
all
yeah,
that.
Monster Hunter on that thing, that was awesome. But at the same time though, everybody and their grandma has heard of a Game Boy. So like Nintendo's just super well known for that sort of thing, and I think the Switch is going to do well because they're not directly competing with Sony and Microsoft. If they were, then they'd probably lose, to be honest with you. They're going for that niche, which is very key in having a modern business or modernizing your business. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like as far as their kind of old school sort of mentality, I feel like that applies in certain places as opposed to their as far as like their marketing and stuff like that, just not others as far as business practices. So again, you mentioned a balancing act earlier with like processing and the battery, but I think there needs to be a balancing act as far as their business model and how they're going to move forward, as well as the hardware, because their hardware is there. Like this thing, it's going to be a pretty big deal. And the hardware's there. It's just a matter of how they choose to handle it from a business perspective from this point on, which is really gonna either make or break the Switch for them, I feel like.
So last thing we're going to talk about today is Mario Odyssey. That thing looked amazing. Like not just like the worlds that you went to, but just the clarity of like the HD-ness, I guess you can say, of Mario. And Bowser with his pimp suit. Like, this looks like the most amazing Mario game I've ever seen.
Yeah, man. If I was Peach, I'd leave Mario for Bowser. He looked snazzy.
Did you see his hat?
How could you miss it?
Both of their hats, actually. Mario's hat is alive, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, hats are a huge deal.
Yeah, that's what
game.
I've heard, too.
So...
Yeah, there's that cap store.
It's in, as far as I know, something I was watching made the comment that in every like village area or city, whatever you want to call it, anywhere that you're going to be at for a period of time, there's a cap store. It is predominant in every location throughout the game, and that the hats or the caps are going to play a very, very large role in the game. But there was no information other than that, so I'm like, so we get little hats, yay! It's like hat emotes in Twitch, yay!
I would assume it's more like the different ability caps in Mario 64.
Right, exactly. That's kind of what my thought is they're going to allow you to do different things, maybe customization to your character. Maybe you can mix and match stuff. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
I have a feeling
now.
it'll be progression based, like whatever you're collecting in the game, as far as like shines, stars, sprites, whatever the case is. Whenever you get so many of them, you take them to like the cap store and like unlock a new upgrade there or something, and then you can like switch out your hats on the fly for as needed for different tasks. Or maybe a little, like populate new boxes like in Mario 64, or like the switches in Mario World, that kind of thing. Like you find them as you go, and then like you hit that thing in the place, and it does the thing.
Yeah, and another thing, we're actually seeing Mario in like a first, like, I think it's human world. Is this the human world?
looks like-
New Donk City?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I'm not sure what all that's about, but that's what interested me the most because all the Mario games before, it's always some kind of like brightly colored, like super fantastical, like type of made up world and everything. But which is cool.
Yeah, the Mushroom Kingdom,
yeah, Mushroom
right?
Kingdom.
Yeah.
Like Mushroom Kingdom is awesome and everything. It's just really interesting to see him like running down like the street with like actual like cars and like realistic looking character models for the NPCs and stuff. I think that's really
I want to jump on a person so bad
just to see what happens, right?
Did you see there was an interview that said, like, I guess it was an interview with one of the creators or something, and they were saying, like, what happens if you jump on a person? And it's like, what you think would happen is what happens.
It kills
Do
them.
you murder people?
Is there gonna be like an
Murder in a Mario
infamy
game.
system in this game? Are they gonna send like SWAT teams after you and helicopters? Like,
Oh god, Super
that
Mario
would be
Grand
kind of
Theft
cool.
Oh
Auto.
my
I'd
God.
like to see that.
Mario's so short, I just want to run around punching all the business people in the tick.
I've seen all the GIFs recently of like that's been being shared around with Grand Theft Auto with Mario in it. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. I agree with the statement that the world looks very realistic, like the human world, rather than the Mushroom Kingdom. It's not as brightly colored. It's a metropolis. It's what you would expect out of a human metropolis. Some of the areas, of course, yes, they're very bright and Mushroom Kingdom-y feeling. But that very first opening sequence where he was running down the street with the cars and all that, I immediately had the thought of, are they literally going to base a game that is part reality, like New York, and then he goes through a warp pipe and suddenly he's back to the Mushroom Kingdom? Are they going to try and do something like that?
As soon as I saw Mario run by a person in the real life city with cars, my mind went, "Oh, they're making Mario Adventure."
Right. I think it's going to be interesting one way or the other. I'm very interested in it. There's a couple of games for the Switch I'm interested in, but really, I think Mario, Breath of the Wild, those are the ones that I'm really interested in. And specifically, I never managed to finish Mario Galaxy, and I never even played the second Galaxy. But I had so much fun in the first Galaxy that I'm really hoping that this expands. It looks like it already does, and they've basically said it does, but I hope they even expand upon that and make it just an absolute enjoyable game to play.
I have a prediction that this realistic looking world is going to be like some kind of hub world, so you're going to spend most of your time there and most of your time like exploring stuff, and just like the wall jumping off the buildings. That looks awesome. I want to like be able to see like how many places I can do that kind of stuff, all the acrobatics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're predicting that it might be like Sunshine ones where it had the hub world, and then you went through all the other places, the levels.
Yeah, I would assume as you get new abilities or new caps, you can like get to different areas. Like they showed the, throwing the hat and jumping on it. That's probably an ability you get at some point, so that you can actually make it across that gap and get to that world.
You can ride your hat.
Right.
Yeah. But no, my theory, I don't think they're necessarily like humans. Everyone's saying like, oh man, it blows my mind that like, Mario isn't really a human because he's around all these normal-sized people and he looks nothing like them, so he must not be human. I don't think they're human. I think that, like, the worlds of this game are actually, like, different worlds. Like, New Donk City is, like, based on, like, the original, Mario Bros. Like, the, like, running up the not catwalks, the girders to, like, grab Pauline from Donkey Kong. Like, a world where, like, Donkey Kong won, and so, like, he's in control of this whole city.
Really? Then, like, that's your... Whoa, that blew my mind.
Yeah. And then, like, there's another world that he picks up turnips. And so I think that's, like, a Mario 2-based world.
That's
like,
Mario 2, yeah.
Like, whatever, I forget what that place is called. I know it's a dream. Don't fight
the
me.
The Doki Doki
but,
panic place.
And I think that's that world. Like, a dream world, basically. And then, like, they showed a few other things, like a sand area.
Like
and I think that's just part of that Mario 2 world, because they also did have a sand area, things like that. I think they're based on things from past Mario games. And it's an odyssey because he's going around all these different, like, fantasy worlds that, have been part of Mario lore before.
I think we just stumbled upon what this game is.
That's cool. I like that. That's actually
just
really...
Justin broke the news.
You heard it here first, folks.
But hey, that's just a theory.
Yep.
Nah, I'm not going to do it.
You can't. First episode, we can't get cease and assisted.
Yeah, right?
All right, thanks guys for coming with me on this grand adventure of ours.
This Odyssey, if you will.
This Odyssey.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thank you, listeners, for listening to the first ever Charged Shot Gamescast. If you want to learn more about us, just visit chargedshot.com. And we'll see you in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.